Hello and welcome to SpaceEngine Exploration. Alright, so where are we getting started today? I haven't uploaded any videos in like the past 3, I think, days. I took a few days off, mainly just to, because I like taking days off. There's days I just don't feel like uploading videos. But, I've been working a little bit heavily on my animated video, my next one that is coming up. Let me go ahead and turn the volume down on the music. That should hopefully be a little bit better. And, yeah, I'm working on my next animated video. I'm not going to spoil what it is about. And I do have a few more planned right after that, but they will be coming out in probably 2 to 3 week intervals if I can hit the time frames properly. Don't expect them like very frequently. And yeah, that's mainly what I've just been working on. I'm kind of moving towards the animated and educational videos a little bit more because they're honestly a little bit more fun for me to make than just constantly being insulted and called an idiot because Universe Sandbox 2 does not condense a neutron star into a black hole when a neutron star basically gets stuck in the Roche limit of a black hole and a lot of tension is set on it and doesn't collapse it. And that's a reference to my most popular video. There's a lot of people who dislike that one and just kind of insult me for it, and it's like, I wasn't trying to make an educational video and explain what's going on here. I was just making a video to see what happens in Universe Sandbox 2, like the entire series pretty much is. I don't really try to make that educational content, I just see how the game performs. It's kind of like a Let's Play series, but I digress. I look past it, it's not really a big deal. But, man, it's just funny to see that. So it looks like I'm in the Milky Way. Yeah, I'm in the Milky Way. Not just a galaxy that looks like the Milky Way. Yeah, I'm working on the animated videos. I kind of want to move towards that. I don't think Universe Sandbox 2 is going to be like a relevant thing forever, and being however many videos I'm in, like probably well over 150 now, you know, it does get stale. The ideas are kind of repetitive, and really it's had its worth on my channel, kinda. I'm still going to be making the videos, but don't expect them to be like a daily thing like they used to be. Like, there was a point where I was uploading damn near like 5 of them a day. But yeah, for the most part, Universe Sandbox 2 is kind of run its course until I see some major updates with some new fun things to experiment with. Like I said, I'll still be making those videos. It's just don't expect them like as frequently. I really want to move towards like the short clips on SpaceEngine that I had going on with like the informative text, and I want to move towards those animated videos because I've been getting a really good response on that. SpaceEngine Exploration might slow down in the future, but currently I'm going to keep it like currently paced at like roughly a week to 2 weeks per episode. Kind of keep this all usual, normal, all that. Just kind of keep it where it's at. I think it's fine. The suggestions, 1 per person, has been working out pretty well. It's been kind of hitting that 1 hour mark that I want to hit, so that is awesome. That's just kind of a status update of like what's going on with my channel exactly, because I know some of you people do care about that. But let's go ahead and go to the first suggestion, which is from Derpsauce Gaming. Wants me to go to 134340. Is that even a cataloged thing? And he just wants me to go to Pluto and make it flat, which I'm not going to make it flat, but I'll go to Pluto. I've been to Pluto quite a few times in this series, but here's Pluto with the lovely updated photo from, I believe, 2014. Looking absolutely gorgeous. Okay, sorry for the jump cut. I was kind of interrupted, but I don't know what's going on with the backside of Pluto. I'll pause it once it rotates around again. Let's get it to rotate around, and you can see it's like super low resolution. I know that we have not observed that side of Pluto, so it's understandable that's low resolution, but I think it's just like a texture from the south side of Pluto stretched all the way across the other side of the planet. And I think that's how that was done. Because we've only observed one side of Pluto with the flyby, so... Interesting. As you can see, it does have an atmosphere in the game, which is pretty cool. You can see Barnard's Loop over there in the background. Why does it seem like my field of view is so low? Maybe I'm just incredibly close to the planet. Not sure. Go ahead and move on to the next suggestion, which is from Sponge the Bob. And let's go ahead and go to this next suggestion, which is Kepler 438b. No description on the Kepler planet. Typically I do require that, but we'll go ahead and pay a visit anyways. Let's go ahead and get rid of that dash and put it where it's appropriately supposed to go, which is this planet right here. And he says it looks a lot like Titan. Okay, so there is an orange dwarf. Binary. There's a second star somewhere around here. Is it just two stars next to each other? Maybe one's eclipsing the other. Yeah, because I'm looking at the Berry Center right now. Interesting. And we got a tidally locked planet, which is Scorched Desert. Discovered via the transit method in 2015. And is it a super Earth? It kind of is. It's a little bit bigger than Earth, about 11% bigger. Interesting. About 12% bigger, actually. And I don't know where the second star is. Apparently a binary system. Oh no, I clicked on the wrong star. Never mind. So this is a red dwarf, not an orange dwarf. I clicked on a star behind it, apparently. Okay, that makes sense. As for it looking like Titan, I think the only resemblance really is that it's kind of like an orangish color. Let's go ahead and fly over to Titan real quick. Yeah, the only resemblance is that it's an orangish color. Other than that, it kind of lacks detail. But here's Titan if we turn off the clouds, which looks pretty cool. Is this water? Oh, that's pretty cool. It's actually like a big ocean of liquid on Titan. Interesting. I can't seem to locate Saturn. Let's go ahead and decrease our field of view. Still not really locating Saturn. Ah, there it is. Saturn, viewed from Titan. Let's go ahead and turn that cloud layer back on. Interesting. What's the atmospheric pressure on Titan? 0.5 atmospheres. That's not that bad, actually. That's like just going into like a deep end of a pool, really. Interesting. Anyways, let's move on to the next world. One thing I will say is try not to post suggestions inside of like comment replies, because I'm not going to sit there and just open each individual one. That's a good way to get your suggestion missed. Go ahead and paste in the next suggestion, which is from Squiffy Abyss 000. And they want me to set the time to a specific time. That always takes forever, but I'll give it a shot. Bubblegum World. Looks like a giant gumball. Let's go ahead and set the time to 2017. Is that July 10th? Let's go ahead and rotate this around. Speed up time a little bit. Switched around, so we're going back in time. No, I think that's October 7th. There we go, we are on the 7th. There is a very specific time that they want me to go to, so I'm going to go ahead and slow down time. Speed it up just like that. We want to go to the 4th hour, 51st minute. Do I have to be at that exact second? Okay, now we're at the exact second. I think we are within a galactic collision. There is 2 stars currently shining on the planet. Orbiting a gas giant with a small desert world, it looks like. A very hot desert world, in fact. Very close by. Obviously, we got this giant gumball world here. And it looks like it's potentially illuminated by 4 points of light right here. We got this kind of shaded orange, either coming from the gas giant or that moon right there. Got the light from this star, which is probably illuminating this side. There's no real sharp division between the light that's coming from that star and the gas giant that's reflecting, which tells me the gas giant has probably a higher magnitude than that star over there. It's just illuminating a little bit more light on that side of the planet. Got our main star that's basically the daylight of this planet right here. But this is pretty cool. How far away is all this stuff? These are basically right next to each other. I don't know if we're supposed to be having all these line up or something like that. They're certainly not, but a pretty cool view nonetheless. And what would be cooler is if I decrease the field of view. And do that so they just look like they're even closer to each other. I could even back up more, decrease it even more, and now it looks like they're basically like two-dimensional stickers almost stuck to my screen, because there's no real parallax between these 2 planets anymore. There's only parallax with the gas giant, so everything kind of just looks like two-dimensional layers at this point. So pretty cool, even though we're quite far away from the planets. Anyways, neat little suggestion. The next one is from Oshi Jack. Let's go ahead and get rid of that question mark there. VV787 does not exist in the game. All I see is 780, which it would have been a galaxy, it looks like. Oh, this is a cool 3-way galactic collision right here. 780. So, guess. Oh, whoops, my bad. 800 over here. What would 800 be? Andromeda texture. Okay, that's cool, I guess. Just flail that around, rotating around the galaxy very quickly. So yeah, that suggestion doesn't appear to work, so it's kind of unfortunate. Which one was it? That was 787. Yeah, it would sit between 780 and 800 here. It seems like these galaxies have like, and they're in NGC as well. So if you can get me the NGC ID for that, or like some other telescope or whatever observatory that found, like, see, it might be in the game, it just might not be cataloged under VV like 787, or what is that, 787, so maybe that'll work. But unfortunately it doesn't appear to be cataloged under that name in this game. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the next suggestion, which is from Alexandra Fine, I think that's how it's pronounced. Let's go ahead and paste this in. This is a hot desert with rings, some nice mountain ranges, red clouds, an icy moon orbiting a binary star system with an orbital period of 1,628 Earth years. And it looks like we're above another galaxy that looks like Andromeda, but I don't think it is Andromeda. We're not at the edge of the universe, so that's something, but let's go ahead and fly back. And I love this contrast with these super bright rings and the shadow and all that. But I'm wondering if I have real planet brightness even enabled, because if we have an orbital period that far, it should be pretty dim, shouldn't it? It got a little bit dimmer. That was a decent bit of contrast, though. That must be a pretty big star. A yellow supergiant. Sitting at a distance of 577 astronomical units. For those who don't know, an astronomical unit is the distance between Earth and the Sun. So, pretty far away. Let's go ahead and touch down on this planet. First thing I see is a volcano. You can see the shadows of the rings as we fly under the cloud layer here. I don't have the render speed turned up too much because I will admit this Ryzen 1700 doesn't seem to get as high of a frame rate. Well, the frame rate's fine, the game runs fine, it's just like things like the procedural generation of these mountains seems to lack a little bit compared to my overclocked i5 that I had before. That, or I'm just not cranking the settings up enough, because there is an option for speed, like the speed setting, but I've since reinstalled the game and I totally lost track of what I had previously. I could try turning that up and seeing if it makes some sort of difference. Couldn't just turn up the loading speed all the way and just see if it lags out or not. So now things should aggressively, yeah, it's getting a little bit more stuttery though. I think I'd rather it be just smoother than fall behind and stutter and all that, because this isn't very tolerable. So yeah, if you're ever wondering why things are just kind of not handling it, it's the loading speed. Loading speed does a massive effect. By default it's at 20, I think I'm going to leave it right there. And I'm going to let everything just kind of catch up. The engine also seems to crash if you aggressively render things too quickly, or if you just put too much load on it. I don't really know why it crashes, just maybe it's a memory allocation thing, who knows, but yeah, the more aggressive you are at like loading things and your video settings and all that, the more likely it is and more frequently it'll crash, so kind of got to watch out for that. Hopefully the next version is a lot more stable. See it. I went ahead and gave the loading circle in the corner a little bit more time to catch up, since it was kind of bogged down. Now we're running a lot smoother. There's what CPU you have. If you kick those settings up too much, you're probably going to overload it. This is a pretty cool view. I'm looking through the atmosphere of the planet and I have the star there. Got a nice view of the auroras, a galaxy in the background. You can kind of just see like the color shift the sun gets from the atmosphere. As we get lower and lower, it gets like a redder color and then kind of fades up to a whiter color. Pretty neat. And I don't think there is a way I could just paste this in. No, I think you can paste it in, but it's not in the exact format that it would be that I would need to be able to paste it in, so I'm not really going to be doing the whole like timestamp thing. What are all these? Are these like are these globular clusters I'm looking at? That's a red hypergiant. Must be a small galaxy. Yeah, there's like no parallax. This has got to be way smaller than Andromeda. How big is the galaxy? The diameter is 36 kilolight. Okay, so yeah, this is way smaller than Andromeda. Yeah, you wouldn't normally be able to see all these stars this vividly from this far away. Unless it's a smaller galaxy in the game. Okay, that was a bit weird. It started pretty hard right there. So yeah, these are all a bunch of red hypergiants I was basically looking at, or just large super bright stars. Could be like Wolf Ride, could just be like blue supergiants, whatever, just blue stars, other large bright, probably dying in old stars. There's another red supergiant right there. But let's not get too distracted. Let's go ahead and move on to the next suggestion, which is from Mac TGC, the Golden City. Let's go ahead and copy this ID. It's a warm Oceania with life, probably normal Earth-like textures maybe. I think kicking up the video settings like that has probably bugged my game out, so I think a crash is inevitable. This isn't loading. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just restart my game. I'll try the suggestion once more. I've visited Mac TGC's suggestions before. They typically work, but this one is not working. So I'm not too sure what's up with that, but I think you basically know the protocol. Make sure your suggestion's correct. You can post it in the next video and I'll be sure to visit it, but yeah, I don't see anything particularly wrong with the format of the ID. It looks mostly correct, but or it looks completely correct, but yeah, it's just not loading for some reason. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next suggestion, which is from Nathan Universe 18. So NGC 3499. This galaxy texture before. I have its cataloged, I would think, but I don't know. Kind of small galaxy. Is there any description here? It's a disk galaxy and a spiral galaxy in one. It's weird. And I love your videos. Thank you. That is very much appreciated. Really classify this as a spiral galaxy. The only reason why I do that is because it looks like it has like two major arms. The one that spans out right here. If I can get these galaxies in the background disappear, just decrease my field of view. We have this one arm right here that branches out, and then we have like the second arm that branches out right there, which makes me think it's more of like a spiral galaxy. We have that bar, kind of. But that's the only reason why I'd pretty much say that. I wouldn't say it's really a disk galaxy. Like the Milky Way should have something like that, but it's more of like a disk galaxy than a typical spiral. At least in the game. I don't think the texture in the game really accurately depicts how we see the Milky Way, or, you know, imagine the Milky Way to actually look. This is kind of, it looks like a saw blade, kind of. It doesn't have like those two major arms branching out. It doesn't have any of that. It just looks like it has a bunch of random spurs everywhere. And I don't believe that is how we accurately depict the Milky Way. If we go over to Andromeda, it's also kind of like the Milky Way. It's kind of got that saw look to it. So it's just a giant, saw blade, I guess. But is that how Andromeda would look? I mean, when you look at it from the side, it doesn't even really seem that accurate in the game, but who knows? What makes it even more complicated is the way we see Andromeda. Light from this side of the galaxy would actually be much faster than light from this side of the galaxy, so we'd have to basically compensate for that distortion as well. There's a lot of factors that would go into figuring out the shape of Andromeda since it's at an angle, but in this game, Andromeda doesn't really look like it does in real life. Or at least the way in photos, but not too sure. Then we have Triangulum, which I really hate this overexposure. I think Triangulum is this one right here. I have to say, this is probably the least accurate of the three of them. Let me get it. I'm just gonna load up my browser here. Yeah, it's fairly accurate. Yeah, Triangulum is actually probably the most accurate of the three, to be honest. We got Andromeda over here, which I have to say looks a lot different. Like, it's kind of got the main bands there, like it does in real life, but it's lacking some other features. Like, maybe it's a bit too contrast. When I'm looking at a photo of Andromeda, I can kind of distinguish the two major arms that branch out. When I look at this. It's kind of a noisy mess. Andromeda also has that red hue in the center that this one's lacking in the game. I could definitely distinguish the two major arms that are in Andromeda. And this, I mean, maybe this right here. There's no, like, second one. That's not really distinguished. It just looks like a lot of, like, the interstellar dust that's, like, in the center here, for example, just seems way too contrast and dark. And it just doesn't really look accurate to the real photo of it, but I'm sure somebody actually drew that, and that wasn't actually copied from like a, I don't know, NASA stock photo or anything like that, so it's kind of understandable. I mean, the game definitely gets its point across for sure. As for the Milky Way, well, we don't really know what it looks like because, well, we're inside the Milky Way, so it's kind of hard to observe. But we have like a general idea that there's like two major arms, there's a bar in the center, and everything beyond that's kind of imagination at that point. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the next suggestion, which is from Deck Burrow. No description. Let's go ahead and clear out that question mark. And it is a carbon star within, I think, the Milky Way. Let me go ahead and correct our field of view here. Maybe our field of view was correct. Carbon stars always look cool. They have like this cracked, muddy looking texture. Typically, a lot of the time. They just seem to generate like the coolest like contrast textures. They're also not super bright. Like they are bright, but they're not like incredibly super bright. When you get close to them, you can really make out the details and like all the little pockets and all that on the carbon stars. It's a really cool effect in the game. If we go over to something like the sun, we wouldn't be able to see it. There's tons of spots on the sun, but we have to turn down the exposure significantly to actually be able to see it. And this, you could just see it clearly even up close. So we have two scorched deserts orbiting around. See the comet tail back there. A lot of the atmosphere, or just other material from the planet being shoved off of it by the massive amounts of radiation that these are being pelted with. And as you can see, there's a major thick cloud layer and probably a tidally locked storm here. Can't really tell because it's just way too bright. Yeah, there's the eye of the storm right there. And it just surrounds the entire planet. Very, very unsightly thing to see. Go ahead and fly around real quick. Where was that other planet? Ah, there it is. Is this one going to be like molten or something? If I can find it, I think that's it right there. Another scorched desert. This one's like right up against the star. And it has a temperature of 1400 degrees. I'd honestly imagine it to be warmer. Of course, that is in Celsius. Yeah, this is a molten world. Last one I couldn't quite tell. This one is a big ball of lava, pretty much. Very cool. Of course, it just uses a mask texture. It still generates it like a normal planet, terrain-wise, but the texture that's utilized is kind of like this red-shifted, molten-looking texture, and that's how you know a planet's molten in the game. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the next suggestion, which is from Ian07. He wants me to visit S Orionis 05380 something, very long numbers. There it is. And let's see if we can find that. Okay, so let me try to type this out in a proper format. Hey, there it is. And it's a brown dwarf. Didn't you suggest a brown dwarf in the previous episode? Oh, wait, this is the one that's like close to absolute zero. Like near the solar system, isn't it? My okay, there we go. I was about to say my mouse is kind of stuck and doing weird things. Managed to tab out and fix it. Okay, let's go ahead and turn up the ambient brightness here. Oh, and look at that. It's like Jupiter, but like super dark and super cold. That is so cool looking. You know, I was gonna work on drawing a brown dwarf videos, and I think this is definitely like up there with something I'll probably be drawing. Like, this is a very cool depiction of like a brown dwarf, I would say, because it doesn't quite have that fusion going on. It's not warm, it's not glowing, it's not doing any of that. I mean, of course they haven't achieved fusion. That's what a brown dwarf is. It's a very large gas giant that essentially is not quite a star. But this is like, this really shows like all the bands and kind of just really shows that it's a gas giant. Love all these storms and all that on here. It's just really cool looking. And I want to go ahead and just bookmark this one. That's super cool. Go ahead and look at it from the poles. It's just dark. What if I turn off the real planet brightness? We'll get a little bit brighter. No. This is like maxed out ambient lighting, which means it just has a super dark texture, I would think. Maybe if I turn up the exposure. Ah, there we go. Now we can see the real details of it. Like little storms up on top too. Super neat. Anyways, very cool suggestion. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one from Danubi Ball. This is a warm terra orbiting around a Venus-like desert with large purple rings. Looks like we're going to the Large Magellanic Cloud very slowly and stuttery. There's a giant nebula right there. There's the Milky Way. There's some more stutter. You know what it is? I think I have some stuff running in the background. Give me just a moment. Okay, so I think I figured out the issue, so hopefully it runs a little bit better now. So we got this blue terra. It's not a desert because there are little pockets of water all over the place. So we got this warm terra here, and it's supposedly orbiting that Venusian-like planet with giant purple rings. What's this? Ah, I thought that was like the Tarantula Nebula or something. And this Venusian-like planet has like super white, bright clouds, and there's the purple rings. And this is a moon. This is not just a binary system, is it? It's not. It's in fact a moon. Interesting. Go ahead and zoom in and let's land on the nighttime / illuminated side of the planet from that planet right there. Oh, look at that cool little mountain right there. Oh, this is running a lot better now. Yeah, I found out I was messing around with like overclocks with my video card and all that, just try to cool it down, and I realized I set my power setting to like 70%, so once I fix that, suddenly everything's just running a lot better. CPU's still not quite rendering this properly, or this is just bugged out because it's not rendering at all. Yeah. Oh. Just give it a little while. There it goes. I wasn't even getting the loading circle there. It was just behaving weird because I changed my overclock setting in the middle of playing the game, perhaps. It's like a giant seam of just not rendered stuff and properly rendered stuff. It was definitely running better the last time I recorded it, so and no doubt I don't think it's my new PC. I think I'm just being an idiot and messing things up. And over here we have some canyons, it looks like. Ravines, trenches, whatever you want to call them. Very cool. Illuminated by the full planet. Not really a full moon. Not really a full planet either. What would you call that? I guess just the mothering planet. Host planet. Parenting planet. Go ahead and go over to the daylight side, which was incredibly bright from what I was able to tell. This is a warm Terra setting at 31 degrees Celsius. Earth sits around 11 to 15 if I'm correct. It varies between whichever game I'm running. I do believe the accurate temperature is like 15 though. I could be wrong. And there is the beautiful sunrise over these. Are these snowy mountains? Yeah, no, these are just mountains. These deserty mountains. Very cool looking. Pretty much sitting at the cloud layer of the planet. If we go down to the surface, you can kind of faintly see the clouds. Very cool. Does this have poles on it by any chance? Not that I can tell. Over here looks pretty cool. It also looked like snow, but I don't think it was snow. Got a lot of terrain features over here. Very neat. But I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the next suggestion, which is from GeoPlayer123. Let's go ahead and copy in this ID, paste it, and here we go. Going into a purple galaxy of some sort, and we have a frozen ice giant. It's a Neptune-like ice giant with purplish Saturn-like rings. I didn't notice the mass of the two giants. The smaller one is more massive and denser than the bigger planet. Is there multiple planets here? Or are we just referring to the previous video? I think he was referring to the previous video. Oh, are these purple? I wouldn't really say they're kind of purple. It does look a lot like Neptune, yet it doesn't really have the details that Neptune has, such as like the white spots and all that. It's kind of just pale blue, kind of like Uranus, but Uranus is not so much blue, it's more of a gray color. The shadows do look really cool on it. Kind of weird sitting around a gas giant. Something about it just seems weird. It's like sitting around Jupiter, for example, or Saturn. It just seems like it'd be like a very quiet and lonely place where you wouldn't really think much is going on just because everything just looks still and static, even though in reality there is so much turbulence and wild activity going down in that giant planet below you. It's just kind of difficult to imagine just because it looks so smooth and flat, and you know, there's just not detail there, but there's such like crazy winds with incredible force just basically right below you. I can only imagine orbiting something like this. Brings me back to what was the game called? Star Citizen. When I first played that game, which I've only ever played it once, never really got into it, couldn't really figure out the controls or what to do, to be honest. When I first played Star Citizen, there was a very detailed like gas giant, I think it was Jupiter, that you're orbiting around, and they went ahead and detailed it to where like each storm had like a three-dimensional effect, and it looked super cool. I think I've mentioned this in a previous episode of this, but I tried to make a video on it, but like I said, I didn't really figure out how to play the game. And overall, I think it's one of those games where you really need to have like the full cockpit set up, like, you know, rudder pedals, joysticks, all that kind of stuff, just entirely decked out computer setup with like all the flight control, everything, whatever. And I just don't have that. I haven't really forked up $1,000 to, you know, get a proper setup like that. Even though someday I would love to, but I don't have that in my budget, unfortunately. But a very cool planet nonetheless. Let's go ahead and move on to the next planet, or rather, galaxy it seems, from Kozel 30. M101. I think that might be way up here. Apparently it's the biggest spiral galaxy, which is this one right here. Fly across the universe real quick. I think I've been here before. I think the reason why this would be the largest spiral galaxy is because, like, there's so much. It looks like it impacted another galaxy and just had a major distortion out here or something, but I wouldn't really know. These are some pretty weird stutters. No, I don't really know what's going on. Maybe my PC just needs restarted or something, but these are stutters I was not getting the last time I was recording this game. So pretty cool. Let's see, the diameter of this planet, or galaxy rather, is 206 kilolight years. If we go back to something like the Milky Way, it is only 126, so this is a little short of twice the size of the Milky Way in diameter. Interesting. I guess the inner portion of the galaxy doesn't make me think, like, this area right here I would think would be about the size of the Milky Way, but the reason why it's probably classified as the biggest is because I'm seeing patches all the way out here. It spans out quite a distance. I guess the real question would be, what was the control for that? Was it like Shift I or just I? Ah, there we go. So number of stars, 890 billion. While the Milky Way has a number of stars of 270 billion, so no, it has roughly like 3 times the amount of stars. Pretty crazy. I guess there would be stars in these voids, and the real size of this galaxy would probably span out like way out here, not just where we visibly see it. Pretty cool. Okay, so this next suggestion comes from Fiction Ben. Let's see. It has 2 gas giants orbiting each other and a terra with life as a moon. Have this crazy little purple, beige, and blue color down here, and I think that would be one of the moons of the gas giant. Also of similar color, probably very similar materials, considering they're created with each other, and apparently there is a moon with life way out here. Oh, that is a very cool cloud effect as well. It is a temperate terra, so there should be land, but it looks like it's almost like a super Earth. No, it's about the same size as Earth. But I'm not really seeing much land. I see some volcanoes peeking out of the oceans. I'm not seeing continents. Let's go ahead and clear out the clouds here. A lot of major collisions, it looks like. Ooh, some pretty nasty collisions as well. Wow. This thing was pelted with asteroids. Or I guess meteors, technically. Let's go ahead and turn up the ambient lighting. We do have a continent right over here. However, the life is marine life, so we won't be able to see the life on this planet, unfortunately, because marine life is not currently supported in the game properly. Oh, what just happened? When did I just pause this? Are we being eclipsed? No, we're just in the ring shadow. Okay. Let's go ahead and drop our ambient lighting back down. There we go. Now we can see the atmosphere. A lovely blue atmosphere, kind of like Earth, but it has 21 atmospheres of pressure, so if you stood here, you'd probably have a lot more weight on your shoulders. The mass of this planet's also a little bit more massive than Earth, so the gravity is going to be a little bit stronger. But not that much stronger. You would just feel, you know, a little bit more exhausted from basically just living your daily life if you weren't properly adapted for this atmosphere. The pressure, however, it could cause some problems. Maybe 21 atmospheres. Yeah, probably you'd have a lot of pressure pushing down on your lungs. But we can handle higher pressures. Lower pressures, not so much. As long as we can appropriately adapt for it and kind of, you know, adapt our lungs and equalize the pressure within our bodies, we should be mostly fine under something like 21 atmospheres of pressure. But turn the clouds back on. Clouds are just super bright. It's super overcast over here. See if we can land somewhere without so many thick clouds, like right here. We can kind of see the sky, but there's a lot of clouds on this planet. Probably because it's mostly ocean, we just have one large supercontinent. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the next suggestion from Laws X. I think that might be how that's pronounced. Not really too sure. When you're not easy to pronounce names, or maybe I'm just terrible at it. Okay, so this is a temperate tear with life, a crimson ocean. That is a very cool looking planet, by the way. Small rings, and a very close and cool nebula, randomly generated. It looks like the Carina Nebula, just, you know, kind of recycled as a randomly generated nebula. Pretty cool. Looks like a thin atmosphere. Or just, you know, not a very high altitude atmosphere. The pressure is 2.19%, or 2.19 times that of Earth. I was about to say percent, but no. Looks like we have snow caps on this volcano right here. Not active from what I can tell. Or might be. Nope, it is not. And we're sitting under the shadow of a ring right now. And we might be potentially eclipsed by that moon very shortly here. Let's go ahead and hit. Oh, dang. Chain, get me off this crazy thing. So much for being eclipsed by that moon. I think it was about to eclipse us, but we've all seen the eclipses in this game. There's our life textures. Looks like a lot of grass and maybe a forest there, perhaps. And just this big flat area. Just quickly turns into a bunch of mountains. Now, I've seen earlier versions of this game. Like, I think I started on 9.8.0, but I looked at earlier versions of this game, and the terrain generation, I guess, hasn't really changed all that much throughout its history. It's been mostly kind of the same mountains and stuff. So, not really too much has changed here. Maybe the textures have changed and stuff, but these huge flat voids that are all over the place, and then it just kind of goes into mountains. Hopefully this can be like filled with something. Like small hills or just rivers or whatever. Just stuff like, kind of like this terrain right here, you know. A little bit more of like this populating like the rest of the planet instead of most of it just being kind of flat, I guess. But I'm not I'm not the one who develops this game. I know it's developed by one person, but just things that would be cool to see in the future. Obviously not trying to rush anyone or anything like that. I'm pretty excited for the 9.8.1 update. I haven't gotten access to it yet, unfortunately, but I don't know. Is it going to be like paid? I keep hearing that it's going to be on Steam and not just... Well, I just keep hearing that it's going to be on Steam. I don't know if it's going to be distributed through the SpaceEngine website anymore for free, or if it's going to be like a $10 or $15 game, which I'll totally pay for. I mean, it's worth it. But right now, it's just really cool that it is free. But who knows? Maybe the developer needs a little bit more extra money to keep the project going. If so, then yeah, I see it as totally worth it. 10-15 bucks to get access to an amazing, powerful tool like this. I mean, that's not really asking much. This looks pretty cool. I love the crimson red water. I don't know why it would be red unless it's like some type of weird plant life in it, or bacteria or something, or perhaps just not the same chemistry as like the water on Earth. Like, I know our water is mostly like a blue tint because of the oxygen in it. I don't know. Maybe it's just the chemicals in the atmosphere. Wish there's oxygen and carbon dioxide. But let's go ahead and move on to the next suggestion, which is from Rainbow Kun. And here we go. The Temperate Terra with a Temperate Terra moon. Both have an ESI of 90%. Interesting. We're in an elliptical type galaxy from what I can see here. Always very cool when they're smaller because we get all this lovely detail. However, my system is lagging. Got a active volcano here. Cool little contrast with the orange atmosphere and the orange star in the background. Got a bunch of hills here, but let's check out that other planet. Where is that at? Moon right there. See up here the ESI is 95%, in fact, not just 90. And this one's got like kind of a pinkish color to it, probably just due to the light of the star in contrast with the atmosphere, which is probably blue. ESI of 90%. Landing on a snowy field here. And there is our host planet, our parent over there. Really cool view. Let's go and zoom back out. Guess this is kind of a cool time just to kind of talk about the moon being like very large in our night sky. It's because we focus on the moon. In reality, our field of view is something more like this. But we have this immediate attention to focus directly on the moon, making the moon look something like this when we actually look at it. Something much larger. But in reality, if you kind of defocus your eyes off the moon and focus on something else while keeping the moon in your perspective, you can see that it's a very, very far away and very small object compared to the rest of the sky. Cool little optical illusion. The moon's not really as big as you initially perceive it when you look up at it. It's because when you're looking up at the moon, you're probably trying to focus on the moon, which, you know, just naturally makes you want to... Or naturally, your eyes will basically adapt for that. Not only that, it could possibly be that your retinas are kind of retracting a little bit, so your field of view decreases slightly as you kind of glance up at the moon because there's a light being casted off of it, perhaps. I don't know. It's mostly an illusion, though. But I wouldn't consider myself an expert on those kind of things. Oh, that's a pretty cool, like, detailed snow texture. It's also shiny. Very, very shiny. What a cool effect nonetheless. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the next suggestion, which is from Hera. Jeez, there's no way I'm pronouncing that name. So I'm just gonna call you Hera. That's like the first part of the name. Or I can call you Rex. Those are like the only two things I think I want to be able to pronounce, to be honest. But you know who you are. Let's go ahead and paste in this suggestion, and let's go. It's a life-bearing Terra in a 5-star system. Okay, so we got this orange star in the background. There's 2 stars over there, binary. There is 2 more stars, potentially 2 more stars over there. Just 1 star. I think that's 1 star. I think that's the odd man out. Nope, there's another one. 1, 2, 3, and 4 and 5 over there. Okay, so we're not in a binary. We're in some kind of blue galaxy. I think it's looking a little bit familiar now that I got a view of what's over there in the sky. We have a cyclone right here. And let's go ahead and touch down on this planet. Nice view of what's going on. What is this? What are you? You're a gas giant, aren't you? Are we orbiting this gas giant, or are we in fact on a moon? No, we're on a planet. We're just very close to that gas giant. Or that gas giant's just very, very large. Here is the Eye of the Storm. It's rendered in, detailing itself. Kind of got some seams where it's trying to render. We're just looking at the underside. And there's the parenting star. You can also see the gas giant. Pretty cool. So I can only imagine that's a red dwarf if this is kind of a habitable Terra. Marine and terrestrial life, by the way. Yeah, it's a red dwarf. I think this is our life texture right over here. Perhaps, but I can't really tell because the sand texture kind of overlaps it. Here we might be able to see it. It's the grass texture that we're used to seeing. And it looks like we're being partially eclipsed by some planet that's transiting from the star. Oh no, we're being eclipsed by a little asteroid. Oh, that's cool. So we do have like a little dwarf moon or quasi-moon just hanging out here. It doesn't look like it's really casting a shadow on the planet though. Unless that right there is the shadow. Nope, that's just a little patch of ocean. Next suggestion is from Sebi Trains. It is a huge moon very close to a gas giant with caps. But let's go ahead and make sure that we clear out this space over here. There we go, and let's go. Now this looks a little bit like Venus right here. Got that red color to it. I don't see it close to the gas giant. Oh, there's the gas giant. Pretty cool looking gas giant. It's got this really awesome red color. Is that like a thermal emission shift effect or something, or is that just a... No, it's not thermal emission shift. That's just a reflection of like this red moon on this gas giant here. Makes for a really cool effect. You got these kind of faint rings here. Something you would expect to see like around Jupiter or something. And this is a scorched desert, a Venusian-like world. So it's going to be very cloudy and very, very hellish on the surface. Very neat. I don't think there's really much more to see here, though. Kind of on the outskirts of a purple galaxy, it looks like. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the next suggestion, which is from Spud Tato. He says, the view of Andromeda is amazing. Oh, well, the ID is not working, but the view of Andromeda is amazing. By the way, there's something wrong with the elliptical galaxies in my game. They are dark and not that visible. In yours, you say that IC1101's yellowness in the galaxy really... Okay, I think I might know what's going on. So, I can't visit your suggestion, but let's see if we can figure out what's going on with IC1101 for you. See, IC1101 is a pretty dim galaxy. The stars don't really show up because, well, it's just not that... Well... It's a very, very large galaxy. We can't see the stars from here because the magnitude is just not good enough. We can see other galaxies in the background. Now, I don't know if this looks brighter for you in my videos as it does in your game. If this is looking brighter for me in your videos, then it's not something like your monitor's brightness. It's probably something more to do with your settings, which you can probably correct for if you go over here into the settings and probably turn up your exposure, which will make it pretty much as bright as you want until it's basically blinding, which you can default to right there. Alternatively, you could turn up the galaxies, which typically just adds more galaxies in the background, makes them visible from a further distance. You're just increasing the magnitude of the galaxies. Another thing you turn off is auto increase magnitude of galaxies, see if that fixes it. Another thing would be to go to your actual graphic settings over here and probably try turning auto exposure off if it's on. If it's on, you could get some effects that make it look super dim, even though you're very close to it. It'll dim out objects in favor of brighter objects, so you'll see something like this, which makes it look dim and kind of finicky. I personally don't like auto exposure. It gives that kind of camera ISO effect, and I'm not a fan of that. So yeah, maybe try those few things and see if they make a difference. It's also over bright, but I think that only really applies to stars. It just makes stars much brighter. So as we get closer to the center of IC1101, you'll see that all these stars are like super bright in comparison to what they were before. So if you wanted super dense star visibility, I guess that's one thing you could do. So yeah, hopefully that'll make it a little bit more visible for you. Takes so long to get out of that black hole, it's just so huge. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the next suggestion from Andromeda. Got this question mark here. And here we go. Okay. Warm desert. Not really too much of an atmosphere going on. But, it's a binary. With a hot desert. And we have that galaxy there. And we have that galaxy there. And we have that galaxy there. And that galaxy over there. Another little cluster of galaxies. Oh, and that galaxy right there. And what are those? Just stars? Those are probably just stars. Galaxies and a binary system here. But they're all different types too. We have is that the same galaxy texture that was like the disk texture? It has like two arms spanning outwards. But yeah, we got like a little spiral galaxy there. And if we touch down here, we can zoom in and look at this other world. By the way, every time I do this, people ask me, how do you zoom in? You just hold shift and then move your mouse up and down while holding left click. Another thing you do is just press page up and page down on your keyboard, which will make a more smoother zoom, but it's much slower. Anyways, let's go ahead and zoom out and see what this galaxy looks like that we appear to be a part of. That galaxy was so beautiful, it crashed my game. Okay, so I'm back in Andromeda suggestion, which this time we have a little comet tail over there. Let's go ahead and zoom out over here. And now see what this galaxy looks like. That's pretty neat. We're like on this way outer portion over here. A part of like this arm that spans out, but it's like a little pocket of probably just a little cluster of stars. Pretty cool. And it's not really that large of a galaxy either. It is cataloged as a cluster of galaxies, I do believe. And here's the black hole in the center of it. Let's go ahead and move on to the next suggestion from Namikaze. And here we go. We're in the Milky Way, it looks like, and whoa, that is kind of cool looking. Boiled water with life. Okay, so we have a hot Oceania here with life at a temperature of 239 degrees Celsius with an atmospheric pressure of 432, because a lot of that water vapor is now in the atmosphere, causing just a high amount of pressure. Greenhouse gas, which will make it even warmer. So you can best bet if you were to fly down and land, or rather sit on the ocean of this planet, not only would you have to deal with high pressures, but you'll have pressure cooked lobster. So, I mean, it's not all bad. Gotta look at the bright sides. But a very cool planet nonetheless. I don't know if there's really much else to check out here. Oh, and it's also a super Earth. It's sitting at 1.5 times the size of Earth. Move on to the next suggestion from Mr. Star Wars. The search thing wants to pop up reliably. Jeez. Game's just broken for me today. Triple system yellow dwarf is the main one here, and it looks like we are above a Milky Way looking galaxy. I don't want to say it is the Milky Way because I'm not seeing that it is, such as the Magellanic Clouds. It's also really large. Let's see. 4 planets with life in a triple star system. We have a gas giant with aerial life. Right over here. Does it have a moon? It does have a moon. We got this temperate Terra with life right over here. Really nice detailed one. Kind of seen a lot of these though. They look very similar to each other. I guess it's just one of the many variations of Terras I generate in this game, and here's the life textures on it. Over here we have a cool desert with life. And it's got purple plant life on it. Always a very cool thing to see in this game. Look at that. That's just a purple volcano. Very neat. Lava texture? That is weird looking. Interesting. Oh, that's the lava texture. No, it's all the lava texture. Huh. There's our purple life textures. And if we back out, go to the other stars, and go to this star, we have a warm Oceania with life. It looks like, yep, it is certainly tidally locked. Of course, it's marine life, so we will not be able to view it, unfortunately. An interesting little galaxy right here. Just one of those many galaxies that seem to recycle the Milky Way's texture. Happens to Andromeda, though. The next suggestion is from the Interstellar Storm 4180. Temperate Terra with life, organic, multicellular, marine, and terrestrial. A Terra with a blue-violet ring system. And wow, 7K. Amazing. Sorry I missed it though. When did I pass 7K? I guess that was like 2 weeks ago now. Yeah, my sub count has kind of decreased in like how much is going up, but to be fair, I haven't really been uploading as much lately, so it only makes sense really. We're in the famous galactic collision that Interstellar Storm likes to always make his suggestions in. Okay, so let's go ahead and touch down on this planet here. Oh, that's a really cool view of the cluster right there, the star cluster that we are, I think, a part of. We're just at the edge of. Very visible in the sky. You can see the purple rings, it's like, what is that, 4 or 5 separate bands. And you can see the galaxies very faintly, until we touch down on the surface, of course. Or it may just, mostly fade off, except for the star cluster in the ring. You still see that, but you can't really see the galaxies. Let's go ahead and fly across here. Got these round, hilly mountain ranges. It's not like these sharp, pointy ones that have like a huge contrast on the terrain. Got a dark blue ocean. Let's go get that off our screen. And do we have polar caps on this world? It seems like we would, given the temperature. But not that I can tell. Interesting. Do have a cyclone over there. We got a beautiful green active volcano. Very neat. And I don't think there is much else to look at here. So let's get a nice view of these rings, because that is, it's like a really cool, like, neon, like, glowing kind of, just looks illuminated almost. Not just by, like, the reflection of light from that star, but it looks like it's independently glowing almost. It's a very cool effect. So the final suggestion is from Filipino Mapping. He says, go to random nebula and a long name. Just did not mean to bring that up. And it's not loading, unfortunately. But they did make a second suggestion, so I will give it an attempt as well. Let's go ahead and try to paste this in. Also not loading. M60... That was M60, right? M60 USD1. I'll try M60. This galaxy here, perhaps? I have galaxy, but render in SpaceEngine. But if it does, look at its diameter. Should have almost 1 billion stars. 1.9 trillion. That is a lot of stars. How much does IC 1101 have? Elliptical type galaxies are incredibly densely packed. 150 trillion. Wow. What you put was 100 million. No, this is 1.9 trillion, this galaxy right here. I don't know if this is the one particularly you wanted me to visit, but it might be. And it's 4 times wider than our galaxy. This one is not. Oh wait, it might be. Because ours is a flat disk, this is an elliptical type galaxy, so this is just the diameter. That doesn't account for the vertical diameter. Interesting. And I think I'll finish it off by going to the black hole in the center, because, well, why not? Very cool looking. Anyways, that would be the final suggestion in the video from what I could tell. If you guys enjoyed the video, please subscribe. Until next time, I'll see you in the next video. That black hole spinning. There's nothing I can really click on to... What if I hit backspace? No. That brings me back to previous planets. Well, I can't get that text off the screen, unfortunately, but there you go.